So this is another video to help you with the planning of your research paper. It's really important in many research papers to have clear definitions of key terms that you are using. And so as we are planning your second paper in this class, it will be a definition paper, and it will be a way of priming the pump to get your project going, to start doing your initial research, and maybe even a way of generating some material that you can literally plug into your research paper. You may not use the entire second essay as part of your research paper. You probably will use the entire third essay as part of your research paper because it will be a sub-argument of the research paper, a standalone two-page paper by itself for paper number 3 that we will later plug into the longer 6 to 8 page research paper. But let's get back to the definition paper, paper number 2 for this course. It really helps to see some examples. So I am going to share the screen with you here and look at two different topics that students have proposed to me in the past. Let's take a look at this first one. This is the thesis for the overall research paper. Growing an organic garden instead of a lawn will reduce the amount of toxic chemicals in your food. Well, I would say that not everybody agrees on what organic means. Even the USDA has a hard time putting the label organic on various foods. What defines organic? That would be a great way to start the research for this paper. Just start the reading and thinking about the topic, because this is a research paper. You're going to be doing research. You're going to be thinking about your topic, developing ideas to support your argument. So this is a good way to start. Actually, there's another term. When you look at this, in this thesis, what does toxic really mean? Maybe you'd rather define that term for paper number 3. Either will do. Every one of you will have terms like this in any thesis that you propose that probably need clarifying, okay? Let's look at another example. This is a totally different paper. Student suggests that the thesis would be, for the overall research paper, changing your diet to include fewer sugars will reduce the chances of developing type 2 diabetes. Well, we could define type 2 diabetes here as the second paper for this class, a definition paper, just to get the project started. Again, what's the difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes? How does this disease differ from other diseases? And that easily a 2-page paper to help clarify what that term means, a definition paper. Although when I look at this thesis, I see other words that could be defined. Not everybody agrees on what a sugar is. Okay, there's so many different kinds of sugar. There's fructose, and there's naturally occurring sugars, and there's let's see, the corn syrup, and then there's date sugars and coconut sugars and all these different kinds. What do you mean by fewer sugars for the purpose of your research paper? It could be that you might say fewer artificial sugars or manufactured sugars as opposed to natural sugars. So that might give you an idea of how you would refine and polish your thesis eventually by having more knowledge of what you really mean by this general term sugars. Actually, speaking of general terms, when you think about it, the word diet, that could be a definition paper. Not everybody agrees on what a diet is. Are we talking about trying to lose weight and cutting calories, or are we just talking about your natural approach to eating and what you eat every day? What is this word diet? It's a trigger word. What does it really mean for the purposes of this research paper? So I would suggest that every one of you look at your thesis that you're developing for the overall research paper. And then we're going to have a place on Canvas for you to propose paper number 2, your definition paper, and you're going to propose your topic for paper number 2 to me. I'll probably approve it. I might throw some ideas back and forth with you about how to approach that paper. We have a deadline coming up for providing me with a proposal for paper number 2 for your definition paper. So let's develop your overall thesis first, and then narrow down what term needs to be defined for that project. And then while we're at it, let's start planning your sub-arguments too. That would be the reasons to agree with your overall thesis. And we had a previous video where I talked about that, and we'll be practicing it, and there'll be more videos. So don't worry, you're just roughly planning out your paper. Nothing is carved into stone at this point. It can all be revised and shaped as we go along and build this project. But the basic idea is your third paper for this class, paper number 3, will be a sub-argument. Think of it as a chapter in your longer 6-page research paper, but it'll be a 2-page chunk of that research paper. By itself, it could be a very nice standalone 2-page paper, but later on we can literally plug paper number 3 directly into your research paper. That's enough for the video right now. Read all the narrative explanations I have. I have frequently asked questions, anticipating your questions, and don't ever hesitate to send me an email if you don't quite understand the assignment. I'm always happy to correspond with my students. I want you to approach this in a fun and creative way. Don't be so preoccupied by your grade that it freezes your progress. Just relax. We're just toying around. We're just brainstorming, outlining, sketching what the bigger project's going to be at this point. And my overall goal is to help you go beyond writer's block, where you're staring at a blank screen thinking, oh, I've got a 6 to 8 page paper to write. Where do I get started? The way you get started is one small section at a time. That's what we're doing here, is breaking down your bigger project into smaller sections. Hope that makes sense. Have fun with it.